Trapjaw! Man-at-Arms. Everything you need to know about He-Man's trusted ally. Man-at-Arms, whose real name is Duncan, has been a major part of the He-Man universe since his debut in the 1980s. Our favorite mustache wielder, Man-at-Arms, has a somewhat misleading name since he is primarily an inventor, first appearing in the 1983 Filmation animated series He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Man-at-Arms was revealed to be the maker of most of the weapons, vehicles, and battle equipment used by the royalty of Eternia. He serves as the king's advisor and is a skilled warrior and teacher. He is also the principal surgeon and scientist in the royal palace. But more than that, he is He-Man's most trusted companion and ally. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Have you out of there in a minute?
80s animated series portrayed him as a powerful ally of He-Man. The Filmation cartoon of the 80s made the essential decision of changing the appearance of Man-at-Arms oh so slightly from its toy-line counterpart. They gave him a mustache and changed his demeanor from a menacing soldier to a loving and caring mentor/father figure, but also a skilled warrior at the same time. This helped in building a character that the audience came to adore, as he was shown to be highly reliable as his protege's companion and advisor through any adversity. As mentioned before, Man-at-Arms is a brilliant scientist. He is capable of inventing things that far exceeded the laws of science. An episode that highlights this exceptionally well is Keeper of the Ancient Ruins. In this episode, our story starts with Man-at-Arms inventing a machine that can turn sand into edible food full of protein in an instant. This was a machine that would allow survival in dire circumstances. He even acknowledges the fact that it does not look like the most appealing edible substance in existence, but is still ecstatic to see that it worked. He shares his invention with Professor Smallin as they explore to discover a book in the ruins of an old city that has been lost for centuries, the Book of Ancient Eternia. We can see that Man-at-Arms inventing such an extraordinary machine was nothing but a daily occurrence to Professor Smallin because of his seemingly nonchalant reaction. Shortly after, they are ambushed by Zactons, programmed to defend the site from intruders, while He-Man makes his way to assist his comrades by overcoming various obstacles, outnumbered and overwhelmed. The Professor and Man-at-Arms are frozen in time by the Zactons, as they believe them to be a threat to themselves and the book. Before being frozen, however, Duncan witnessed that one of the robots had sustained some damage and offered a helping hand. The Zactons had trouble trusting him at first, but with the arrival of He-Man, they sought the tools that Duncan required for repairing their fallen member. Soon after, Trapjaw arrives at the temple to steal the Book of Ancient Eternia. Our heroes, He-Man, Man-at-Arms, Battlecat, and Teela, indulge in battle with Trapjaw. The Zactons are initially alarmed by the war in the temple, but they quickly understand that He-Man and his comrades are only trying to defend and assist them. The Zactons soon help the heroic warriors by capturing Trapjaw in a time ray like they had Man-at-Arms. The episode comes to a close with Trapjaw being escorted to the prison mines, while the Zactons learn an important lesson about friendship and trust with their newfound allies. In the end, our heroes and the Zactons share a sentimental farewell. The friendly, nurturing, and empathetic nature of Man-at-Arms is able to instill a sense of safety and compassion in the Zactons, a long-lost group of robots. Man-at-Arms was also a fearless combatant. No matter the opposition, he relied on his intellect, tactical thinking, and teamwork with his companions to overcome any difficulties. Sure, he might not be the strongest warrior in terms of raw power, but he more than makes up for it with his resourcefulness. In the episode Masks of Power, while exploring, He-Man, Man-at-Arms, and Orko come across the long-lost city of the Ancients. Unbeknownst to them, Skeletor uses a mechanical bird to spy on them. Aaron and Una, a young man and a woman with the desire to serve Skeletor, arrive in Snake Mountain while he's plotting against our heroes. Seizing the chance, he sends them to find the Masks of Power, which are rumored to be in the city of the Ancients, the whereabouts of which are now known to Skeletor as a result of He-Man and his comrades finding it. In a blind quest for power and to serve serve Skeletor, Aaron and Una discover the relics in the ruins. They put the masks on their faces to be possessed by and transform into Deimos and Tyrella, two strong magicians from Eternia's distant past. As he flees, Deimos awakens Aru, the angered guardian of the masks. After that, Deimos and Tyrella return to Snake Mountain as He-Man fights Aru. The sorceress warns He-Man, Man-at-Arms, and Orko that Deimos and Tyrella are after the Sword of the Ancients, buried beneath Snake Mountain. Upon their surprise arrival, Skeletor is easily defeated by Deimos and Tyrella, and He-Man is compelled to save the villain. A fierce battle breaks out beneath the mountain as everyone races to defeat the two old sorcerers. He-Man finds the Sword of the Ancients and combines it with his Sword of Power. Upon their defeat, Deimos and Tyrella disappear with the knowledge that they will never be able to wield the Sword of the Ancients, and Aaron and Una return. After realizing the consequences of their actions, they accept their mistakes and swear never to partake in evil again. Throughout this adventure, Man-at-Arms, who, in terms of physical capabilities, is just better than a human, is constantly outclassed by either magicians lost to time or giant beasts that can squash him. But his perseverance, courage, and resolve make him stronger, and the trust between him and his comrades is what lays the foundation for our heroes' victory. The trust between Prince Adam and Man-at-Arms is undeniably one of the most wholesome and strongest examples of mentor-student bonding. Man-at-Arms, as well as being a trusted advisor to King Randor, was also one of his elite warriors. We realize this as in the episode The City Beneath the Sea. Man-at-Arms is tasked by King Randor with locating the source of the mysterious whirlpools that have been destroying ships. The king had been distressed about multiple ships going missing, and he wanted it to be investigated and solved immediately, and could only trust Man-at-Arms to do so. During the interaction, the king is interrupted by the prince's arrival as he flirtatiously talks with two young women. He is outraged and scolds the prince. Man-at-Arms, being one of the only people to know He-Man's secret, takes Prince Adam's side and ensures the king that Adam knows of his duties as prince and fulfills them accordingly with due diligence, and is not as irresponsible as the king thinks he is. Upon learning about the issue at hand, Prince Adam then persuades his father to allow him and Cringer to join Duncan by suggesting to Duncan that this might be a task for He-Man. As soon as they set sail, their ship is sucked into a whirlpool as well. To protect Man-at-Arms from falling debris, Adam transforms into He-Man. Our heroes are then swept by the crashing waves and the unrelenting pulling strength of the whirlpool, only to find themselves inside an underwater city inhabited by piscine humanoids, human-like creatures with characteristics of fishes. They are quick to realize that this must be the legendary city of Aquatica, which they discover is ruled by Merman. The city's people instantly feel uneasy toward our heroes because their appearance alienates them, and it only requires little convincing from Merman to consider them their enemies. Upon trying to attack Merman, our heroes are restrained by him using the mystical Pearl of Power. They are then sent into an arena where they have to face the humongous Lorbos as their opponent. He-Man manages to defeat the creature, but as they flee, they are stopped by the guards. However, they are saved by Shellandor, an Aquatican who can protect himself by using magic against the mind control imposed by Merman through the Pearl of Power. He-Man's strength leads Shellandor to believe that he might be able to take down the monster that Merman had set up to pent Princess Nami, the city's rightful ruler. The monstrosity confronts He-Man and Man-at-Arms as they swim into the cave where the princess is being held, but He-Man eventually defeats it. The princess returns everyone to normal in Aquatica after they successfully retrieve the pearl, but Merman intends to use his whirlpool machine to destroy the city. He-Man is able to spin a guardrail on the city's outskirts quickly enough to demolish the whirlpool and save Aquatica. As we can see, Man-at-Arms is not necessarily the most potent hand-to-hand combatant. Instead, it is his genius that is his most valuable asset. As he is loyal to King Randor and a mentor to Prince Adam, we see that he never leaves the side of He-Man and assists him in all his glorious battles. As an integral part of many storylines, we also get a deep insight into Duncan's character. We even see on multiple occasions how caring and wise Duncan is. The 80s animated series also sheds light on his relationship with Teela, as he fostered her on the request of the sorceress of Castle Grayskull, who begged Duncan to keep her daughter safe as she could not raise her and protect Castle Grayskull at the same time. Duncan replied, "She will always be safe with me for as long as I live." Talk about a lot of responsibility for someone who be a father figure of two of the series' main characters, right? His early origins in mini-comics and DC Comics. Mini-comics. Early mini-comics were somewhat dull when it came to the character of Man-at-Arms. There wasn't much character development, nor was his appearance as we now know it. His design was more inclined towards the toy collection, which made him look more brutish and menacing. Duncan's relationships with the royal family and Teela were also not cited, as there was no mention of the royal family yet, and Teela was portrayed as a warrior goddess. The only knowledge we had of the character was that he was from a race of people that were masters of all weapons, explaining his vast knowledge of weaponry and inventions. In the second wave of mini-comics, however, we get to know that Man-at-Arms is Teela's father, and in the mini-comic The Tale of Teela, we get to know more of the background story behind that revelation. As we quoted Man-at-Arms earlier, he promised the sorceress that he would always protect her daughter. Duncan proceeded to raise her as his own and also named her Teela. DC Comics. In the DC continuity of the He-Man universe, one of the major plot points was shifted, that being Man-at-Arms was unaware that He-Man and Prince Adam were one and the same person. Because of this, we don't get the interactions between King Randor and Man-at-Arms, where Duncan sticks up for Prince Adam and ensures the king that the prince understands and fulfills his duties well, despite it not appearing as such. The 2002 animated series portrays a more serious version of Man-at-Arms. The 2002 animated TV series, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, serves as an update to the 1980s Filmation cartoon series. This iteration aimed to go back to the story's origins and provide broader explorations never reached in the first series, including origins of various characters. In contrast to the previous He-Man series, which was set on the futuristic planet of Primus, this continuity is much more grounded in reality. It aims to provide contextual clues to many unfinished storylines from the original series. In terms of appearance, we can see Man-at-Arms in a similar yet different outfit and set of armor. He dons a short top knot, and the armor on his left arm is able to transform into various gadgets and weapons as per their requirements. He even seems to be older, with more gray hair and a much stronger connection in terms of looks to his military background, as compared to the discreet and laid-back look he had in the 1980s version. We also see a significant change in the nature of the character of Man-at-Arms. The changes include Duncan shifting from a calm, collected, calculated, and caring father figure to a more serious, dark, and dingy character. He is also given a much more substantial ranking of general, rather than the uncertain but high-value pedestal he was put on in the original Filmation series. The consistency of his character's roles was mainly in line with Filmation's series. Man-at-Arms assists the Royal Guard, Teela, Prince Adam, and other masters of the universe with training, in addition to inventing weapons and other technology for the royal family. An important revelation that the series made in order to provide more backstory to the character was that he was one of Captain Randor's prominent allies during the Great Unrest, before the Council of Elders informed the captain that his destiny was to be the King of Eternia. This further cemented Man-at-Arms' loyalty and proved to the audience that Duncan was always by King Randor's side and only aimed to serve him loyally till the end of his life. It was also revealed that Fisto, also known as Battle Fist in the toy series, who was accused of abandoning his comrades during the Great Unrest, the war that took place 16 years before the premise of the series, was Duncan's brother, distanced by the hefty accusations. Due to his battle injuries, Fisto had gaps in his memories, but he was still determined to prove that he never deserted his companions. His inability to prove his innocence forced him to spend his life being treated as a disgraceful warrior ever since the Great Unrest, the attack of the warlords attempting to take over Eternia. He passed the time at bars, picking puny fights with other punters. Apart from the troubled familial relations of Man-at-Arms, which is a recurring theme for his character, we even get to know about the person who served as the mentor of a young Man-at-Arms. Decker, who was a brilliant veteran tactician, taught Duncan everything he knew about strategizing against opponents and all of his battle prowess. He often puts emphasis on the point that a warrior never stops learning in their lifetime, and instead, one should always focus on developing new skills over the passage of time, something we repeatedly see Duncan practicing, as he was always keen on inventing more valuable machines, weapons, gadgets, and more.
Man-at-Arms is feeling manny emotions.
An old theory about Man-at-Arms was confirmed in Masters of the Universe Revelation. In this recent storyline, Duncan's major character arc was initiated when, in an intense battle between He-Man and Skeletor, an unprecedented and unfortunate clash of their powers resulted in a vast magical explosion in which both the combatants were disintegrated and ceased to exist. Teela, who was present at the time, had finally learned of He-Man's secret identity of Prince Adam. Although Duncan was not present during the clash, it was his responsibility to inform the King and Queen that He-Man had sacrificed his life in a battle with Skeletor for the greater good. Queen Marlena promptly realized that it meant her son, Prince Adam, had also died, but the king was still uninformed. Duncan eventually revealed to the royal palace that the queen was correct about Adam and He-Man being one entity. He also told them that it was the prince himself who ordered him and a few others who knew his secret identity to keep it a secret. Feeling betrayed and outraged, King Randor expelled Duncan from the palace permanently and stripped him of his royal title because of his deception. It was also mentioned that Duncan would be sentenced to death if he ever appeared before the king again. Following these events, Duncan went into exile and was never seen to forge any sort of weaponry again. He chose to settle in a small cottage away from the kingdom, never to be found. His appearance also took a shift as he did not wear his iconic armor anymore and had a disheveled look on his face. He took on the role of being a nomadic vigilante looking over the helpless people in his vicinity. Soon after, he was followed and joined by one of his creations, Roboto. Roboto considered Duncan a father figure and was adamant about staying by his creator's side through every difficulty life threw at him. Orko, who had also been sent away from the palace, joined Duncan in his exile, but Orko's health was deteriorating at a very high pace due to the continuous loss of the magic that Eternia once held. In order to aid his friend, Duncan made considerable efforts to bring the dying Trollan a tiny bit of water from one of the last remaining magic fountains. The events that transpired provided us with great insight into the character of Duncan. He was extremely loyal to his friends, the royal palace, and He-Man throughout his life. He would go to great lengths, even risking his life at points, if it meant that he could help his companions and loved ones in any sort of way. The adventures that followed had Duncan defend the castle at Grayskull, as Teela informed him that the sorceress was powerless to protect herself. Time and again, Duncan raised to the occasion, proving himself to still be a formidable opponent even without the provision of crafting his own weaponry, which he was forbidden to do by law. He defended the castle successfully each time it was under attack by Triclops and Motherboard, using all of his arsenal at his disposal. He overcame the thoughts that clouded his mind about not being worthy to offer such kind of services to anyone ever again, and managed to persevere through sheer willpower. Accurate to the title of the series, a massive revelation was made by the confirmation of a long-coming fan theory about the relationship between Man-at-Arms, the Sorceress, and Teela. It was revealed that Duncan was, in actuality, the biological father of Teela rather than her adoptive father. In the first episode of Masters of the Universe Revelation Part 2, the confirmations of Man-at-Arms and Teela Na, the woman who became the most recent sorceress of Castle Grayskull, having an intimate relationship was made. This was the first time ever that these two characters were linked romantically in any of the continuities. It was only teased and suggested in the 2002 He-Man and the Masters of the Universe series Season 2 episode titled Out of the Past, that the sorceress healed an amnesiac soldier, Duncan, and eventually fell in love with him. Before Man-at-Arms strolled out to reunite with his fellow fighters, the sorceress mentioned to him the soldier who left her a present. The sorceress then made an explicit reference to the gift as your child, Teela, which led many people to believe that she was being literal when she said that Teela was Duncan's daughter by blood, hence igniting our fan theories. In 2021, however, Masters of the Universe Revelation officially confirmed this in the episode titled Cleaved in Twain. The episode starts with a young Man-at-Arms and a woman who resembles Teela seen in a flashback. The woman was named Teela Na, the sorceress's previous name in the early animation series and comics. Teela Na desired to hold her young daughter one more time before giving Man-at-Arms a loving embrace and referring to him as my Duncan. She departed from them at that point to enter a hidden room within Castle Grayskull, where she joined the power of Grayskull and took on the role of the sorceress. Any uncertainty towards the confirmation of their relations was destroyed when later in the same episode, Skeletor, who had previously claimed the power of Grayskull and became extremely formidable, ran the Sword of Power through the sorceress. Witnessing this, we can see a distressed Duncan screaming in grief and running towards the sorceress to hold her one last time. He refers to her as "my love," to which she responds similarly as in the flashback, "my Duncan," before she was enveloped in blinding light. Teela, who always deserved more affirmative information about her parents, was given an explanation by the spirit of the sorceress about her relationship with Duncan. In a heartfelt conversation, she even explained to Teela how her duties prevented her from being a mother to her and a wife to Duncan, as Eternia needed her as a sorceress, even though it brought immense pain to abandon her loved ones. What makes Man-at-Arms so powerful? Man-at-Arms is one of the most powerful allies to He-Man, and he has proved his worth time and again. Despite what his name suggests, Man-at-Arms is not the kind of warrior that uses brute force to overcome his enemies. Instead, he is a brilliant inventor, and he has created all sorts of inventions ranging from machines that promote survival in dire situations, weapons that can possess massive destructive powers, vehicles that surpass speed barriers, gadgets that can drastically increase a warrior's arsenal, such as the duplication machine, and much more. He is King Randor's trusted advisor, weapon master, a brilliant scientist, the royal palace's top surgeon, a formidable warrior, and mentor to notable characters like Prince Adam, but most importantly, he is He-Man's most trusted ally and friend. Queen Marlena has also referred to Man-at-Arms as the most skilled man in Eternia at deciphering ancient writings. He is often put in charge of expeditions and investigations due to his vast knowledge, but he is as effective on the battlefield as he is at using his otherworldly intellect for science and engineering. Duncan's nature and traits are also a huge boon, as he is intelligent, mature, incredibly strategic, and always seems to be 2 steps ahead of his opponents. His calm and composed nature has repeatedly shown how even in the face of adversity, he never panics and provides the most reasonable solution to the heroes. Conclusion. By now it must be clear why Man-at-Arms is so prominent and is a recurring character in many significant storylines. He brings a lot of depth in terms of his simplicity as a caring mentor to Prince Adam, a loving father to Teela, and a trusted advisor to King Randor. Man-at-Arms is a dedicated and purposeful individual. He will always persevere in finding a solution to a situation. Being a dedicated worker, he tests his creations extensively before deeming them reliable. He battles alongside He-Man against Skeletor's soldiers, and much like the sorceress, Man-at-Arms serves as He-Man's moral compass, making sure Adam remembers that his gift was given to him to serve others, not himself, and facilitating his development as a hero. This is why every great hero requires a strong and capable individual like Man-at-Arms as their ally, and our heroic He-Man has one in him. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.